this session, we will see the topic under the course CEC 349 RFID System Design and Testing. So today's session, the overview of the topic is what is meant by RFID, what are the components that will be present in the RFID, and what is the coupling mechanism used in the RFID system, and finally where we have to apply the RFID technology. So let me see the first topic, what is meant by RFID. RFID is nothing but, we call it as a radio frequency identification. So this is one of the technology that will be used for tracking or identifying the object. So the major components of RFID is nothing but we having one RFID reader and object in which the RFID tag will be attached. So this is the structure of the RFID system. Here the RFID reader will continuously transmitting your radio waves to the object in which the RFID tag will be attached. So in response to this radio waves, the RFID tag send a feedback signal to the RFID reader. So that is these two RFID reader and tag will be communicated if it is in the range of RFID reader. So here this system, RFID system is nothing but it will be similar to the barcode, but the major difference is nothing but in barcode the object and the scanner should be in line of sight. Line of sight is nothing but it should be in a straight line. But whereas in RFID systems, here there is no need of LOS. But it should be in the RFID range of RFID reader. So this is called as an RFID system. It is nothing but just it will be used for tracking or identifying the object. For example, the object may be a books in the library, or maybe we can able to track the animals or birds in the forest, or we can identify the items that will be present in the shopping mall. Likewise, the application will be it will be in a range of wide range, right? So we are going to see about what are the components that will be present in the RFID systems. So the major components of RFID system is, as we are already discussed. So what are the major components of RFID system is nothing but simply we having a RFID reader and RFID tag. Here the RFID tag is also be classified into three types. One is active tag, another one is passive tag, and last one is semi-passive tag. So what is the difference between these three tags? Here in active tag, the power supply will be inbuilt within the tag. Whereas in passive tag, the power source will be outsourcing. Here there is no power supply within the tag. So here the power will be get from the source, that is the source of energy will be from the signal radiated from RFID reader, right? So with response to that signal, the tag will also be send a feedback to the reader. In semi-passive tag, here we having a own power supply, but the signal will be transmitted based on the field existed by the RFID reader. So these are the types of RFID tag. One is active, passive, semi-passive. Active in the sense the power supply will be inbuilt. So it will be maximum the lifespan of the battery is nothing but 1 year to 2 years depend upon the applications. Whereas in passive tag, here the power supply will be generated or it will be charged by means of an EM waves. It will be excited from the signals used by the RFID reader. Here in semi-passive tag, here there will be own power supply, but the signal transmission is based upon the EM signals by the RFID reader. Whereas the RFID reader is nothing but it is one of the device that will be continuously sending the radio waves to the tag. The major component of RFID reader is, let me see the components of RFID reader and RFID tag. What are the major components that will be present in the RFID reader is, the first component is RF wave generator. It will be connected to the microcontroller. The microcontroller is also be connected to the receiver, or otherwise we having another component will be called as a signal detector. This is also be the signal will be received from the antenna. Here in RFID reader, we can use the antenna. It may be a microstrip patch antenna. Because of so many applications, the signal will be conformity and it will be, the size will be small. So the major preference for the RFID reader antenna is microstrip patch antenna. So how the RFID reader works? The major components as we are already listed. The first component is RF wave generator followed by microcontroller, and another one component is receiver, otherwise signal detector. Here the RFID reader, it will be continuously generating the radio waves. That radio waves will be generated by this block RF wave generator. The RF wave generator will generate here radio waves that will be, and also the signal is also be received from the signal detector or receiver. Here the signal will be get from the RFID tag. So that is nothing but the RFID tag will send the feedback, that is the ID of the object. So these two signal will be received and it will be controlled by the microcontroller. That is the logic of the RFID reader. So next we see what are the components that will be present in the RFID tag. So the first components in RFID tag is, the first component is transponder, otherwise it will be called it as a control circuits. Here the antenna will be connected to the transponder and followed by the transponder, the another block is, we call it as a rectifier. Then the rectifier will be connected to the microcontroller, which in turn connected with the memory. So these are the blocks that will be consist of RFID tag. The transponder is nothing but the signal which is received from the reader is transmitted to the transponder. Here where the voltage will be excited by means of coupling mechanism. So that voltage will be converted, that is here the AC voltage will be excited. This AC current will be converted into your DC by means of a rectifier. Here we are having one component called as a capacitor that will be used to store the DC voltage. So which is act as a power supply to the microcontroller and the memory. So this is the logic of an RFID tag. Next we go for what is the mechanism, coupling mechanism in between the RFID reader and RFID tag. So we having a two coupling mechanisms. So how the RFID reader how the RFID reader and tag will be coupled. How the coupling mechanism will be executed or the working principle of RFID. Here the coupling mechanism will be classified into two types based upon the distance placed between the RFID reader and tag. So what are the coupling mechanism means? The first one is inductive mechanism. Otherwise we call it as a near field communication. The another method will be called as a electromagnetic coupling mechanism. The other name of electromagnetic coupling mechanism is we call it as a far field communication. Okay. So what is meant by inductive mechanism or near field communication? Here if the reader and tag is placed near to each other means it will be called as a near field communication. So the process will be start from the signal will be continuously emitted from the reader. Right, here we having a one antenna, tag is also be connected with an antenna. The first process is nothing but the EM, that is a radio waves will be generated by the reader. So here we having one EM waves will be induced, one coil will be induced. In that coil the alternating current will be getting to be flow across the coil, which in turn the tag in the RFID tag the voltage will be getting to be excited. In tag we having a load, rectifier, another one is a controller. Here by means of rectifier the power will be generated and it will be given to the controller. So once the EM signal, so once the radio waves will be generated from the reader, here in that coil, that is the coupling between the reader and tag will induce a flow of alternating current across the coil that will be induce the voltage will be induced in the RFID tag by means of the load. So this voltage will be given to the load and also given to the rectifier. Here in rectifier the AC will be converted into DC and it will be given as a power to the microcontroller, and also there will be one chip will be induced in the tag also. And moreover by means of changing the whole load we can able to change the level of the AC, that is the magnitude of the voltage level. So by changing the load we can able to change the voltage of the tag that will be excited. Okay, so that type of technique will be called as a load modulation. So by means of load modulation we can increase the magnitude of the voltage level. So how we can increase the, how we can modify the load means by making the impedance matching. By mismatching the impedance we can change the level of the load, in turn it will be changing the magnitude of the voltage. That will be called it as an inductive mechanism. Whereas electromagnetic coupling, otherwise we will call it as a backscattering mechanism. Here RFID reader, the same one. The first process is the field will be excited by the RFID reader with the strong signal. So that will be received by the RFID tag. So this signal will be received by the RFID tag. So this is the first process. Whereas the second process is once receiving the signal, the RFID tag in response, it will send a feedback signal with weak strength, right? With the weak strength, it will be sending one feedback signal. Further, the RFID reader transmit those signals. So this type of mechanism, it will be transmitting those signal back to the RFID tag. This mechanism will be called as a backscattering mechanism. So by means of these backscattering, some amount of voltage will be generated in the RFID tag, which is act as a power supply to the microcontroller and memory that will be present inside the RFID tag. Here the intensity of the backscattering signal will be increased by means of the impedance mismatching. By means of impedance mismatching, we can increase the intensity of the backscattering signal so that the voltage can be, the magnitude of the voltage can be increased or it can be decreased. So these are the coupling mechanism of the RFID systems. Finally, where we can use this RFID technology? For example, in library, that is an institution oriented, if you want to track the object or if you want to identify the books, it will be built with the RFID tag. So in library, in schools and colleges, we can use the RFID technology, and also we can use in transportations or logistics, or in sports also we can use the RFID tag, and likewise in access control. There may be so many wide range of applications are available by using a RFID technology. So thank you.